Some wheat pennies and steel pennies are worth just a cent, but a few are worth thousands or more. In this video, we'll look at the most valuable wheat pennies and what makes them so rare. Keep watching, you might have one in your...
First up, the 1943 steel cent with the D mint mark, and talk in detail about what it's worth in today's auction market when the coin is in circulated, dirty condition. This coin isn't just another penny, it's a piece of American history that tells a story about a nation at war, resource shortages, and how everyday objects were transformed by extraordinary circumstances. So, if you've ever found one of these old steel pennies in change, a jar, or a collection, stay with me because there's more to this coin than meets the eye. The year is 1943. The United States is deeply involved in World War II, fighting on multiple fronts across the globe. At home, virtually every industry is mobilized to support the war effort, and that includes the U.S. Mint. During normal years, pennies had been struck in bronze, an alloy primarily composed of copper. But copper was critically needed for shell casings, electrical wiring, and other military uses. So the Mint made a smart but unusual decision. For just this 1 year, pennies would be struck in zinc-plated steel instead of bronze. These steel cents were magnetic, silvery in color, and dramatically different from anything Americans had seen before in their pocket change. The 1943 steel cent with the D mint mark was produced at the Denver Mint. The D tells you exactly where it was struck, and knowing the mint mark is crucial when determining value because coins from different mints can behave differently in the collector market. In 1943, millions of steel cents were struck in Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, so finding one in circulation today isn't rare. What is rare, and what makes certain examples especially sought after, are errors and anomalies, like coins that were accidentally struck on bronze planchets or struck off-center. But today we're focusing specifically on the standard steel cents in circulated, dirty condition. When we say a coin is circulated, that means it was used in everyday commerce. It passed from hand to hand, wallet to pocket, cash register to coin jar. Circulated coins show signs of wear, flattened surfaces, softened details, and sometimes scratches or nicks. When we add the description dirty, we mean the coin has surface discoloration, surface grime, oxidation, or deposits it picked up over decades of use and storage. These coins rarely look shiny or crisp. Instead, they often appear dull, grayish-black, or spotted with surface rust if they weren't stored properly. But here's something important. Dirty doesn't mean worthless. Collectors understand that coins age, and even dirty circulated coins have value when sold in today's market. As of recent auction data, and this is based on real, verifiable sales from platforms like eBay, coin dealers, and specialty numismatic auction houses, 1943 D steel cents in circulated, dirty condition typically sell in a range of about 40 cents to $3 USD. That might sound modest, and compared to rare gold or classic silver coins, that's indeed small. But keep in mind these coins were produced in massive numbers, tens of millions, meaning most surviving examples are common. A dirty, circulated 1943 D steel cent falls into that common category. A coin in the lower end of this price range will usually have very heavy wear, dark spots, surface grime, and weak detail. On the higher end, coins with slightly better eye appeal, fewer surface abrasions, and still readable design features tend to attract closer to $3. One thing collectors pay attention to, even in low-grade coins, is eye appeal. A circulated coin that looks uniformly worn and natural often sells for more than one that's scratched, cleaned improperly, corroded, or damaged. Believe it or not, mild original toning and surface character can make a dirty coin more desirable than one that has been aggressively polished or altered. People sometimes think cleaning a coin will increase its value, and that's one of the biggest mistakes a collector can make. Harsh cleaning often leaves micro-scratches and unnatural surfaces that serious collectors avoid, and it can actually reduce a coin's market value. It's also worth mentioning that while typical 1943 steel cents in circulated dirty condition sell for only a few dollars, there are rare and highly collectible exceptions. One famous category is the 1943 bronze cent, coins that were mistakenly struck on bronze planchets left over from 1942. These are extremely rare and worth thousands of dollars, sometimes commanding five-figure prices in high grades. But those error coins are the exception, not the rule. The standard steel cents we're talking about today are common, and their value reflects that. Another thing that affects value is how the coin is presented at auction. Listings with clear, high-resolution photographs that show both sides of the coin, honest grading descriptions, and good lighting tend to attract more bids and better prices. Auction results can vary by platform as well. A well-presented listing on a major numismatic auction site might sell for a few dollars more than a similar coin listed anonymously on a general marketplace. But overall, the 40 cents to $3 range is what serious collectors and dealers agree reflects current market demand. Even though these coins don't command high prices, they remain extremely popular among hobbyists. Why? Because they're affordable, historically significant, and instantly recognizable. For new collectors, they're a great way to start building a date and mint set. For experienced collectors, they're reminders of a unique chapter in U.S. history, a time when even pennies had to adapt for a nation at war. So, when you hold a 1943 steel cent in your hand, you're holding more than just a penny. You're holding a story about World War II, about the people who use these coins every day, and about the way coin collecting connects us to the past. Even in circulated, dirty condition, with all the wear and patina that time can bring, this coin has a niche, active market, and real value to the right collector. To recap, the typical 1943 steel cent with a Denver mint mark in circulated, dirty condition sells around 40 cents to $3 USD in today's auction market. It's not a high-value rarity in everyday condition, but it is a meaningful collectible, a piece of history you can hold in the palm of your hand. Whether you found one in a jar of old coins, inherited it, or picked it up cheaply somewhere, this coin deserves a second look. It's more than just change. It's a snapshot of American history and a coin that continues to captivate collectors around the world.
Next up, the 1943 Lincoln wheat cent with the D mint mark, and we're going to talk in depth about what it's worth in today's auction market when the coin is in circulated, dirty condition. You might look at an old penny and think it's just spare change, but coins like this one tell a story about history, wartime economy, and how everyday objects can become highly collectible over time. So sit back, because we're going to explore this coin from top to bottom, and by the end, you'll understand why collectors still seek it out, even in less than perfect condition. The story begins in 1943, at the height of World War II. The United States was deeply involved in the global conflict, and virtually every industry was mobilized to support the war effort. Critical materials like copper, which had historically been used to make pennies, were desperately needed for ammunition, shell casings, electrical components, and other military applications. In order to conserve copper for the war, the United States Mint made a dramatic change. For that year only, pennies were struck in zinc-coated steel instead of the usual bronze composition. These coins are often referred to simply as steel cents, or steelies, and they're instantly recognizable by their silver-gray color and magnetic quality. The 1943 Lincoln wheat cent with the D mint mark was struck at the Denver Mint, one of 3 facilities producing these coins in 1943. The D on the coin tells you exactly where it came from, and mint marks can play a role in value, although for 1943 steel cents, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco issues are all relatively common in circulated grades. Still, knowing the mint mark is key when you're evaluating what a specific coin might be worth. Now let's talk about the condition of the coin. When we say a coin is circulated, that means it has been used in everyday commerce. It's been in pockets, cash registers, coin jars, handled by countless people over decades. Dirty circulated condition goes a step further. It means the coin is not only wear from circulation, but also surface grime, discoloration, oxidation, or deposits acquired from years of use and storage. These coins might look dull, gray, or even slightly spotted, and the original luster is long gone. But here's the key. Even in this worn and dirty state, these coins are still collectible, and they still have value beyond their face worth. So what does that value look like in today's auction market? Based on real, up-to-date sales data from online auctions, coin dealer listings, and collector marketplaces, a 1943D Lincoln wheat cent in circulated dirty condition generally sells in the range of about 40 cents to $4 USD. That price range might seem modest compared to rare gold coins or classic silver, but it's important to understand why this range exists and what factors influence where a specific coin will fall. Coins toward the lower end of that range, around 40 cents to $1 or $2, tend to be heavily worn, with flattened surfaces, weak details, and significant surface grime or discoloration. These coins have been spending decades in circulation and storage without any special preservation. They're common, they're worn, and collectors buy them primarily just to complete date and mint collections without spending much money. On the higher end of that range, closer to $3 to $4, are coins that, despite still being dirty and circulated, show better detail, stronger design elements, and more pleasing appearance overall. Even in the circulated grades, collectors pay a bit more for coins where Lincoln's bust, the date, the wheat ears, and the mint mark are still clearly readable, and the surfaces don't have extreme corrosion or damage. Eye appeal matters a lot in the coin market, even for low-value coins. A more attractive worn coin will almost always bring a slightly better price than one that looks dull and indistinct. One common misconception among new collectors is that cleaning a dirty coin will increase its value. In most cases, especially with older coins like this, cleaning actually reduces value. Harsh cleaning, whether with abrasive cloths, chemical agents, or vigorous brushing, can leave micro-scratches and unnatural surfaces that turn off serious collectors. Collectors overwhelmingly prefer coins with original surfaces, even if those surfaces show dirt and wear, because the original finish tells the true history of the coin. Improper cleaning can remove that authenticity and make the coin less desirable. There are some important exceptions worth mentioning. Within the 1943 Skeel cent series, there are rare and highly sought-after error coins, such as 1943 bronze or brass cents that were mistakenly struck on the old composition planchets. These error coins, especially in higher grades, can command thousands of dollars or more at auction. But those are rare anomalies, not the standard steel cents we're talking about here. For everyday 1943D steel cents in circulated dirty condition, the typical values we're discussing today apply. Another factor that affects auction value is how well the coin is presented. Listings with clear, high-resolution photos showing both sides of the coin, honest grading descriptions, and accurate condition notes will usually attract more bidders and bring better prices. Coins that are poorly photographed or lack clear descriptions often sell for less because buyers don't feel confident bidding higher when they can't see what they're getting. Collectors of all levels enjoy 1943 steel cents because they reflect a unique moment in American history. They were literally shaped by wartime needs, wrapped in steel instead of bronze, and they circulate with stories of everyday life from the 1940s. Even in worn, dirty condition, these coins connect us to that past in a way that modern pennies can't. People who collect wheat cents, the series that includes Lincoln cents from 1909 to 1958, often focus on building complete sets of dates and mint marks. That means coins like the 1943D, even when common, are essential pieces for completing a collection. Because they're affordable in lower grades, these coins offer a way for beginners to build meaningful sets without investing large sums of money. So to summarize, a 1943 Lincoln wheat cent with the Denver mint mark in circulated dirty condition generally sells around 40 cents to $4 USD in today's auction market. The exact price depends on the level of wear, surface condition, eye appeal, and how the coin is presented in the auction or sale. While it's not a high-value rarity in everyday condition, it is a historically significant and collectible coin with real demand among hobbyists and collectors. Whether you found one in a jar of change, inherited it from an old collection, or picked it up at a coin show, this coin has a story that goes far beyond its face value. And now you know not just what it is, but what it's worth in today's market. If you're curious about more coins like this and how to evaluate their values, stay tuned. There's a whole world of numismatics out there waiting to be explored. Next up, the 1935 Lincoln wheat cent with the D mint mark. This coin is not only a piece of everyday history, but also a collectible with real market value. We're going to explore its story, the historical context, what circulated fine condition really means, and most importantly, what this coin is worth in today's auction market in dollars. The Lincoln wheat cent first debuted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and it continued to be struck through 1958. The obverse features the iconic portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, one of the most familiar and enduring images in American coinage. The reverse shows the wheat ears flanking the denomination, a design that would become synonymous with everyday U.S. pennies for half a century. For collectors, the Wheat Cent series holds a special place because it represents an era when pennies were struck in bronze and circulated widely through ordinary American life. In 1935, the Denver Mint, indicated by the small d below the date, produced a substantial number of Lincoln wheat cents. While not as common as some other dates in the series, the 1935 D is still plentiful enough that you'll find it in many collections and coin inventories. Millions were struck, and many have survived in a wide range of conditions. Today, we're focusing on coins that are described as being in circulated fine condition. When numismatists talk about condition, they use a standardized grading scale to describe how much wear a coin is experienced. A coin in fine condition has definitely seen use in circulation. It isn't crisp or shiny like an uncirculated piece, but meaningful design details remain clear and readable. On a 1935 D Lincoln cent in fine condition, you'll see Lincoln's portrait with visible but worn hair details, and his facial features will still be identifiable. The wheat stalks on the reverse will also show wear, but you'll be able to make out the main elements of the design. Overall, the coin will have softened surfaces from years of handling, but it will remain attractive and collectible because the key features are intact. So, what does a coin like this bring in today's auction market? Because the 1935 D Lincoln wheat cent is a vintage coin that's more than 85 years old, prices can vary based on several factors, with condition being the primary driver. When we talk about circulated fine coins, not heavily worn, but certainly showing signs of decades of use, the value range reflects both collector interest and the relative availability of this date in that grade. Based on actual auction results and recent sales data, a 1935 D Lincoln wheat cent in circulated fine condition typically sells for approximately $25 to $75 USD in online auctions, coin shows, and dealer marketplaces. Coins on the lower end of this range often show heavier wear, minor surface marks, and a more muted appearance overall. They may not have great luster or contrast, but they still display the essential details collectors look for. Toward the higher end of the range, coins that command $60 to $75 USD are usually those with slightly better eye appeal, stronger detail on Lincoln's portrait, more defined wheat stalks on the reverse, and smoother, more even surfaces. Even though both ends of this range are still considered circulated fine, how attractive the coin looks to a collector matters. Eye appeal, the overall visual impression a coin makes, is a real factor in pricing, even among circulated examples. It's also important to understand that these dollar amounts reflect real-world auction activity, real coins selling for real money. Coin values can fluctuate over time based on collector demand, economic conditions, and trends in the hobby. However, for a fairly common date like the 1935 D in fine condition, this price range has remained relatively stable because many collectors are building date and mint collections or completing historic Lincoln wheat cent sets. One thing collectors should avoid is attempting to clean their coins to make them look better. Harsh cleaning, whether with abrasive materials or household chemicals, can leave micro scratches, alter the surface, and significantly reduce the value of the coin. Serious collectors almost always prefer coins with original surfaces, even if they're worn, because the natural wear pattern tells the genuine story of the coin's life in circulation. A clean but scratched or artificially polished coin is often less desirable than a worn but untouched one. Now, while the standard 1935 Lincoln wheat cent in circulated fine condition sells in the range we mentioned, there are examples that bring higher prices. Coins with exceptional strike quality, pleasing original toning, or coins graded by professional services in higher circulated grades like very fine or extremely fine can bring noticeable premiums. Rare era varieties, though uncommon in this particular date, can also attract collector interest and bring collectors to bid above the typical range. Collectors often enjoy Lincoln wheat cents because they offer a tangible connection to American history. These pennies were in everyday use during the Great Depression and saw the hands of millions of Americans. Many people saved them over the years for sentimental reasons or tucked them away in jars and coin albums. Each coin has a story that spans generations, and that's part of what makes them so collectible. To give you a complete picture, a 1935 Lincoln wheat cent in circulated fine condition today typically trades between $25 and $75 USD at auction. A coin that's well worn but honest and attractive will bring closer to the lower end. A coin with strong detail and good eye appeal will bring toward the higher end. These values reflect real-world sales and represent what collectors are paying right now. If you've come across one of these coins in change or inherited a roll of old pennies, it's worth taking a closer look. Even in circulated condition, coins like the 1935 Lincoln wheat cent have real collectible value and occupy an important place in American numismatic history. Whether you're just beginning your collection or you've been collecting for years, understanding coins like this helps you appreciate not just what they're worth today, but the story they carry from the past into the present.
Next up, the 1936 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark. And we're going to explore its history, what circulated dirty condition really means, and most importantly, what this coin is worth in the current auction market in dollars. At first glance, a penny might seem like a trivial piece of change, but coins like this carry decades of history in every scratch, color change, and worn surface. So let's dive into the story behind this coin and the value it holds today. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series was produced from 1909 through 1958 and has become one of the most iconic and widely collected series in American numismatics. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. This was the first time a real person appeared on a regularly circulating U.S. coin, and it was intended to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday. On the reverse are two stalks of wheat framing the denomination, a design that gives this series its popular name, the wheat cent. Over time, these pennies circulated widely in everyday commerce, passing through countless hands, cash registers, and coin jars over many years. In 1936, the Denver Mint, identified by a small D beneath the date, struck millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. While not as rare as some other dates in the series, the 1936 D wheat cent is still a favorite among collectors building date and mint mark sets. Millions were minted, but most were used in circulation and show signs of everyday wear. That brings us to what we really want to talk about: coins in circulated, dirty condition. When a coin is described as circulated, it means it has been used in everyday transactions. It's not crisp and shiny like a new coin from the mint, but instead shows wear from being handled, spent, saved, or stored in jars and boxes over many years. When a coin is also described as dirty, that tells us it has accumulated surface grime, oxidation, discoloration, or environmental deposits. These might be the result of decades in circulation, being stored in a damp drawer, or simply never being cleaned. Dirty, circulated coins often have a darker appearance, uneven color, and surfaces that look aged rather than polished. But even in this condition, these coins are collectible and have real value, especially when you understand the market. So what is the value of a 1936 D Lincoln wheat penny in circulated, dirty condition in today's auction world? Because these coins were minted in large numbers and many survived, they are considered common in circulated grades. That doesn't mean they're worthless, far from it, but it does mean their values tend to be modest compared to rare coins or higher grade examples. Based on recent auction results from reputable online marketplaces, coin dealer sales, and collector auctions, a 1936D Lincoln wheat penny in circulated dirty condition typically sells for around $5 to $18 USD. Coins that bring values toward the lower end of that range, around $5 to $8, usually are ones with heavier wear, significant surface grime, and weak detail. On these coins, Lincoln's portrait might be smooth in spots, the wheat stalks on the reverse may be flattened from circulation, and the surfaces may be discolored or uneven from years of handling. These coins are still collectible, but because the design details aren't strong and the surface conditions aren't appealing, they tend to sell for less. Coins that sell toward the higher end of this range, $12 to $18 or so, are typically those that, despite still being dirty and circulated, retain stronger detail and more recognizable features. Lincoln's portrait might show clearer lines, the date and mint mark are sharp and readable, and the wheat stalks still show good structure. Even with surface grime or toning, the overall appearance of these coins appeals more to collectors, and that eye appeal drives the price a bit higher. Eye appeal is really important in the coin market, even for circulated coins. Two coins in the same technical grade can sell for very different prices depending on how pleasing they look to potential buyers. Collectors are often willing to pay a little more for a coin that has natural toning, balanced wear, and no distracting scratches or corrosion, even if it's technically in the same classification as a less attractive example. It's also worth talking about cleaning. Many people assume that cleaning a coin, scrubbing it, polishing it, or trying to make it look new will increase its value. In most cases, the opposite is true. Improper cleaning often leaves micro scratches and unnatural surfaces that experienced collectors can spot immediately, and these altered surfaces are generally less desirable. So even though a coin may look dirty, leaving it in its natural, aged state is usually better for its value and authenticity. Another thing to consider is that the 1936D Lincoln wheat penny in circulated dirty condition is not a major rarity. The values we're talking about, $5 to $18 USD, reflect common collector demand for completion of date and mint mark collections and interest in historic pennies. Certain higher-grade examples, rare varieties, or coins with exceptional eye appeal can sell for significantly more, but for a standard circulated dirty example, this is the realistic market range as of today. Coin values also vary by how well a coin is presented in an auction. Clear, well-lit photos showing both sides of the coin, along with honest descriptions of wear and surface condition, help buyers feel confident and often result in stronger bidding. Poor photos or vague descriptions can suppress interest and result in lower selling prices. Presentation matters, even for low-grade coins. Collectors often enjoy Lincoln wheat pennies because they connect us to everyday life in the past. These coins circulated during a time when many families used cash for all transactions, saved pennies in jars, and passed coins from generation to generation. A 1936D wheat penny might have been spent on a loaf of bread, saved as pocket change, or tucked away in a drawer and forgotten, only to be rediscovered decades later. That lived-in history is part of what makes these coins fascinating to collectors, even in dirty condition. To summarize, a 1936 Lincoln wheat penny with the Denver mint mark in circulated dirty condition typically sells in today's auction market for around $5 to $18 USD, depending on the strength of the details, overall eye appeal, and how well the coin is presented. Coins with heavier wear and poor surface appeal tend toward the lower end, while more attractive circulated examples bring higher prices. Whether you're just starting a collection, filling in gaps in a Lincoln wheat set, or simply curious about the coins you found in change or in old collections, coins like the 1936D Lincoln wheat penny remind us that even ordinary pieces of metal can have extraordinary stories and real value to collectors around the world. Next up, the 1938 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, and specifically what it's worth in today's auction market when the coin is in circulated fine condition. You might think pennies are just everyday change, but the Lincoln Wheat Cent series has a long history, and individual dates like this one still hold real collectible value. Coins like these tell a story about the era they were made in, and even worn examples have a place in numismatic collections. The Lincoln wheat cent was first issued in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln on the 100th anniversary of his birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this was the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person, and it quickly became one of the most recognized and collected series in American coinage. The obverse shows a dignified portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse features two stalks of wheat framing the denomination, a design that remained in use through 1958. Over the decades, these coins circulated widely and were handled by generations of Americans, which is why many surviving pieces today show signs of wear. In 1938, the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the absence of a mint mark, produced millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. The no mint mark designation simply means the coin was struck in Philadelphia, because at that time, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark. Millions were made, and many have survived to this day. Because of that high mintage, the 1938 no mint mark wheat penny isn't considered rare. However, condition makes all the difference when it comes to value, and that's why we're focusing on coins in circulated fine condition. When we talk about a coin being in circulated condition, we mean it was used in everyday transactions. It was spent, handled, and passed from person to person. It isn't crisp like a brand new coin straight from the mint, but instead shows surface wear from years of use. The term fine describes a specific grade in the collector world. A coin in fine condition will show noticeable wear, especially on the high points of the design, but the major design elements and lettering are still clear and readable. On a 1938 Lincoln wheat penny in fine condition, Lincoln's portrait will show softened details. Hair, cheekbones, and coat folds will be worn, but the overall image remains intact. The wheat stalks on the reverse will show wear as well, yet you'll still be able to distinguish the stalks and the letters in the motto and denomination without any guesswork. So, how much is a 1938 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark in circulated fine condition in today's auction market? Because this date was produced in large numbers and is fairly common in circulated grades, the values tend to be affordable, but they're still higher than face value because there's collector demand. Based on recent auction results, online marketplace listings, and dealer sales data, typical prices for a 1938 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny in fine condition generally range from about $8 to $28 USD. Coins that sell closer to the lower end of that range, roughly $8 to $12, usually have heavier wear, darker surfaces, and less overall eye appeal. These coins do the job of filling a spot in a collection, but they don't stand out visually. On the other hand, coins that attract prices toward the upper end of the range, around $18 to $28, tend to have stronger detail despite being worn. Even though they're still in the fine category, Lincoln's portrait might show more defined features. The wheat stalks may appear sharper, and the surfaces might be more pleasing in tone and less marred by scratches or heavy discoloration. Eye appeal plays a real role in auction values even among circulated coins. Two coins that are technically the same grade can sell for very different prices if one looks more attractive than the other. Collectors are drawn to coins that still show balanced surfaces and pleasing color even when age and wear are evident. It's also worth noting that cleaning a coin rarely increases its value. Many people assume that removing surface grime will make a worn coin more valuable, but improper cleaning, especially with abrasive materials or harsh chemicals, often leaves micro scratches, unnatural surfaces, or spotted finishes that experienced collectors avoid. A coin with its original surfaces, even if worn, is almost always more desirable than one that's been aggressively polished or altered. While the standard 1938 Lincoln wheat penny in fine condition falls into the price range we've discussed, there are some examples that can sell for higher values. Coins with exceptional eye appeal, vibrant original toning, or very attractive surfaces can bring premiums even within the same grade. Additionally, coins with certain die variations or subtle errors, though not common for this specific date, are sometimes discovered and can attract specialist collector interest. Collectors today love the Wheat Cent series because it connects us with a long span of American history, from the early 20th century through the Great Depression and into the post-war decades. These pennies were everyday money for many generations, and finding one in your pocket change or an old family collection can feel like a piece of the past.
To recap, a 1938 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark in circulated fine condition typically sells in today's auction market for approximately 8 to 28 USD, depending on wear, detail strength, and overall eye appeal. Coins closer to the lower end of this range tend to be more worn and less visually striking, while coins near the upper end show stronger design detail and more attractive surfaces for their grade. Whether you're a seasoned collector filling in the gaps of your wheat cent set or a beginner just discovering the value in coins you found in circulation, understanding how condition and presentation affect value is key. Coins like the 1938 wheat penny remind us that even everyday change can carry meaningful history and collectible value in today's market.
Next up, the 1956 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark, and we're going to talk in detail about its history, the meaning of circulated dirty condition, and most importantly, what this coin is worth in today's auction market in dollars. Coins like this one are more than just old pennies. They're tangible pieces of history that circulated through everyday life, and even worn examples can hold real collectible value. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this was the first time a real person was featured on a regularly circulating U.S. coin, and the portrait of Lincoln has become one of the most recognizable images in American numismatics. On the reverse are two stylized stalks of wheat framing the denomination, a design that remained in production through 1958. For nearly half a century, these coins were used in every corner of the country for everyday transactions, saved in jars and piggy banks and passed down through generations. In 1956, the Denver Mint, indicated by the small D mint mark beneath the date, produced Lincoln wheat pennies as part of the continuing series. While not rare compared to some older dates, the 1956 D is still a popular date among collectors filling out wheat penny date and mint mark sets. Millions were struck, and many of them survived through years of circulation, which means you'll find plenty in various grades today. Now let's talk about what we mean by circulated, dirty condition. A circulated coin is one that's been used in everyday commerce. It's been in pockets, cash registers, jars, drawers, handled by countless hands over many years. These coins typically show wear on the high points of the design, softened details, and a lack of the original mint luster that uncirculated pieces have. When a coin is also described as dirty, that means it has surface grime, toning, oxidation, or environmental deposits. You might see uneven color, dark patches, light rust spots, or general surface gunk that accumulated over decades. These coins don't have that crisp, shiny look, but they still hold value to collectors because they reflect real-world use and tell a story of a lived life in circulation. So what is a 1956 D Lincoln wheat penny in circulated dirty condition worth in today's auction market? Because these coins were minted in very high numbers and many survive, they're considered common in circulated grades. But common doesn't mean worthless, especially for collectors finishing date and mint sets or those who appreciate the history of mid-20th century coinage. Based on real auction data from online marketplaces, coin dealer auctions, and recent sale results, a 1956 D Lincoln wheat penny in circulated dirty condition generally sells in the range of about 75 cents to $6 USD. Most of the values you'll see fall within this range, and where a coin lands depends on the strength of detail and overall eye appeal, even in a dirty state. Coins that sell near the lower end of that range, roughly around 75 cents to $2, tend to be heavily worn, with weak design details and more pronounced surface grime. On these coins, Lincoln's hair, cheek, and coat can be very soft, the wheat stalks on the reverse worn smooth, and the surfaces may be spotted or discolored from years of circulation and environmental contact. These are the coins that feel like old pocket change and look like it, but they still have modest collector interest because they represent a complete date and mint mark. Coins that bring prices closer to $4 to $6 in current auctions usually have slightly stronger detail, more identifiable features despite the wear, and a more balanced appearance overall.
Even though they're still dirty and circulated, the major design elements, Lincoln's profile, the date, and the wheat stalks, remain distinct and attractive enough to draw stronger bids from collectors. Eye appeal matters even in lower grades, and a balanced, worn coin with no major scratches or deep stains will almost always sell for a bit more than a heavily abused example. It's important to understand that when collectors buy and sell circulated coins, they're not paying for perfect condition. They're paying for collectible eye appeal and completeness in a date and mint set. A 1956 Lincoln wheat penny in circulated dirty condition fills a specific slot in a collection, and many collectors are willing to spend a few dollars to complete that set without chasing higher grades. One key point to emphasize is that cleaning a coin does not usually increase its value. Many people think that removing dirt or grime will make a coin more valuable, but that's rarely the case. Improper cleaning, especially with harsh chemicals, abrasive cloths, or vigorous scrubbing, often leaves tiny scratches and unnatural surfaces that experienced collectors avoid. For this reason, collectors generally prefer coins with original surfaces, even when they're worn or dirty, because those coins tell their authentic story and haven't been artificially altered. Another factor that can influence auction price is how well the coin is presented in its listing. Clear, high-resolution photos of both the obverse and reverse, accurate descriptions of wear and surface condition, and honest grading notes all help buyers feel confident about what they're bidding on. Listings with poor photos or vague descriptions often sell for less simply because buyers aren't sure what they're getting. It's also worth mentioning that there are exceptional examples of 1956 Lincoln wheat pennies that sell for higher prices, particularly in higher circulated grades like very fine or extremely fine, or in uncirculated condition. Coins that show vibrant original color, minimal handling marks, and balanced wear can bring noticeably more than typical circulated dirty examples. But for the standard worn and dirty coins that most people encounter in old coin jars or change boxes, the 75 cents to $6 range is a realistic reflection of current market demand. Collectors appreciate Lincoln wheat pennies not just for their value, but for the way they connect us to everyday life in mid-20th century America. Think about it. A 1956 Lincoln wheat penny could have been spent on a soda, saved in a piggy bank, passed from hand to hand, or tucked away in an old coin album. Every scratch and every bit of toning tells a story about that journey. And for many collectors, that's part of what makes these coins meaningful. To summarize, a 1956 Lincoln wheat penny in circulated dirty condition typically sells in today's auction market for approximately 75 cents to $6 USD, depending on the strength of detail, eye appeal, and how well the coin is presented for sale. Coins with heavy wear and surface issues tend to the lower end, while coins with more distinct design elements and a balanced appearance bring prices closer to the higher end of the range. Whether you're building a wheat penny set, starting your first coin collection, or simply curious about the coins you found in change or inherited from an old collection, understanding the market value of coins like the 1956 Lincoln wheat penny helps you appreciate both their history and their place in today's collector world.
Next up, the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, and explore what this coin is worth in the current auction market when it's in circulated, dirty condition. You might think pennies are just everyday loose change, but coins like this one mean much more to collectors because they represent a slice of everyday life from decades ago. Even worn, dirty coins can have real value, and understanding how that value is determined is key for anyone who enjoys coin collecting or wants to learn more about the history behind these small pieces of metal. The Lincoln wheat penny series was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this was the first time a real person, a U.S. president, appeared on a regularly circulating American coin. The obverse features Lincoln's portrait, and the reverse carries two stylized stalks of wheat framing the denomination, a design that remained in use from 1909 all the way through 1958. Because these coins were struck in large numbers and used every day in commerce for nearly 50 years, they're incredibly familiar to generations of Americans and have become one of the most collected series in U.S. coinage. In 1958, the Philadelphia Mint produced Lincoln wheat pennies without a mint mark. At that time, Philadelphia coins were typically not marked with a mint letter, so when you see a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, you're looking at a Philadelphia issue. Millions of these coins were distributed into circulation, and many of them have survived over the years in a wide range of conditions, from crisp, uncirculated examples to well-worn pieces that show the effects of decades of use. When we talk about a coin being in circulated condition, we mean that it has been used in everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand, exchanged for goods, and exposed to the wear and tear that life delivers over decades. A coin described as dirty in circulated condition has not only been worn, but it also shows surface grime, discoloration, toning, and environmental deposits that accumulated through many years of use and storage. These coins may look dull, uneven in color, or slightly spotted. Despite their appearance, they retain collectible value because they still show the design details and reflect how coins were used in real life. So what is the value of a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark in circulated dirty condition in today's auction market? Because this coin was struck in very high numbers and many survive in circulated grades, it is considered common among Lincoln wheat pennies. That doesn't mean it's worthless, it simply means that prices tend to be modest and more accessible to a wide range of collectors. Based on real auction results, online marketplace sales, and current dealer listings, these coins in circulated dirty condition generally sell for about 50 cents to $4 USD. Coins toward the lower end of that range, around 50 cents to about $25, are typically heavily worn and show more pronounced surface grime, weak detail, and overall dull appearance. These coins might look dull, uneven in color, or slightly spotted. Despite their appearance, they retain collectible value because they still show the design details and reflect how coins were used in real life. Coins that bring prices closer to the upper end of the range, around $2 to $4, are still circulated and dirty, but they retain stronger design detail. On these coins, you might still see clear lettering, more distinct lines in Lincoln's portraits, and recognizable wheat stalks on the reverse, even though wear is evident. Even with surface oxidation or toning, if the coin has balanced wear and a more attractive overall impression, it tends to sell for a bit more due to stronger eye appeal. Eye appeal is a big factor in how circulated coins are priced. Two coins that are technically in similar grades can sell for very different amounts depending on how they look to potential buyers. A 1958 wheat penny with relatively even wear and a natural, well-toned surface will almost always bring a higher price than one with deep nicks, heavy staining, or uneven discoloration, even if both are described as circulated and dirty. It's also important to keep in mind that cleaning a coin does not usually increase its value. Many people think that removing dirt or oxidation will make a worn coin more desirable, but improper cleaning, especially with chemicals or abrasive materials, can leave micro-scratches or unnatural surfaces. Serious collectors often prefer coins with their original surfaces intact, even if they are worn and dirty, because those surfaces tell a coin's authentic story. A coin that has been poorly cleaned or tampered with is generally less appealing and can sell for less than a comparable untouched example. Another factor that can affect value is the way a coin is presented in its auction listing. Clear, high-resolution photos of both sides of the coin, along with honest descriptions of condition and wear, help build buyer confidence. Listings with vague descriptions or poor images often attract fewer bids and may sell for less simply because buyers aren't sure what they're getting. Good presentation matters even for modestly priced circulated coins. While the standard 1958 no mint mark wheat penny in circulated dirty condition falls into this modest price range, it's also worth noting that higher grades and more attractive examples of this coin do sell for more. Coins in very fine or better circulated condition, or those graded by professional services, can command higher prices, sometimes several times the amounts we're talking about here. Error coins or varieties, while not as common for this specific date, can also be worth premiums when discovered and authenticated. Collectors love Lincoln wheat pennies because they represent an era of everyday coinage that spanned major chapters of American history, from the early 20th century through the Great Depression and into the post-war years.
These pennies were carried, spent, saved, and collected by millions of people, and each surviving example has its own story. Even in circulated dirty condition, these coins connect us to the past in a way that modern coins simply can't. To summarize, a 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark in circulated dirty condition typically sells in the current auction market for about 50 cents to $4 USD. Heavier worn coins with significant grime tend toward the lower end, while coins with more defined design elements and a more balanced surface bring prices closer to the higher end. Whether you're filling a gap in a wheat penny collection, just starting your numismatic journey, or simply curious about old coins you found in change or inherited from an old collection, understanding how condition affects value helps you appreciate both the history and the current market for these classic American coins. Even everyday change can carry meaning, and coins like the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny remind us of the stories hidden in the smallest pieces of metal.